Welcome to Big Money Monday on the Savvy Radio Show. Get ready, you are about to get paid. This show is designed to increase your financial intelligence every Monday.
Well, if you've made it this far to episode number 3, technically, we got Prospect 1 and 2 done that you should have listened by now. We're on number 3, which is Credibility Kit. If you don't know, we got Pat Point in Oklahoma City, legend, radio, real estate magic, radio host, creator, educator, mentor, friend. Thanks for being back in the studio again. Man, I'm running out of ways to introduce you because I'm like,
my name will suffice. You don't need to do a lot of this other stuff.
Yeah,
it embarrasses me.
I know. I see your eyes twitch, and I get humbled too. But Pat, I really think that a lot of people don't know how much you've impacted. One of my closest mentors mentored under you, and
Steven,
and I lived vicariously through him. And I remember he would meet with you and come back. I'm doing all my houses on lease per contract for deeds. Like my mentor, Pat. My mentor Pat says I'm never going to be a property manager.
Yeah, he hated them about as bad as I did.
So I was like, I get all juiced up. Okay, I want to finance everybody.
He's a real success story. I'm not going to use his name, but he had a burning desire to be a pastor.
Yep.
And he had a wife that had a long-term illness that required a lot of care.
Mm-hmm.
So jobs were somewhat difficult for him between his avocation and his responsibilities at home.
Right.
And so real estate allowed him to make the money necessary to build his church and go off and do what it is he needs to do and take care of his family.
And that's
what it's for. I don't care. I have one guy that doesn't do nothing but buy a bass boat every couple of years. He wants to do just enough real estate to pay for that bass boat. He works at Tinker and he doesn't want to do anything else. But it's fine. It does what he wants it to do. Now, Stephen wants to own every last house in Oklahoma, and that's fine too.
Hey,
but
from you mentoring him has translated it, probably changed my director or whatever the frick that word is to in my own life. Another thing that he would say, that when he would meet with you and he would translate, and of course this is how you be rich, is that you teach other people how to be rich. What you learn, you got to, and that's why I'm all on private money, and that's why I have you here. I want to learn as much as I can from you on private money, and then I'm going to go out and teach it. The more I practice it, the more I talk about it, the better I become. And my friend, Steven is his name, he would meet with you and come back and he's like, Pat, never by his own residence he did a subject to. I was like, this guy, Pat Point, never goes and gets a loan. He's either private money or subject to even his own residence. He's like, where you have no closing, you have no pre-qualification. You just swoop on in and move on in. I mean, you acquire the asset. I mean, this is how he would come back after he would hang out with you.
Well, we had a good time. I like Stephen. He was a great man.
Yep.
And I admired him for what he really wanted to do.
Yeah, and he's doing it. I still talk to him on a regular basis, and he's just a great friend. He's not in real estate as he used to be. He has been a huge blessing in my life where I can't remember how many houses I bought from him as you coached him in wholesaling. But for enough of that, so that's Pat Point right there. But today we're talking about a credibility kit. Now, I'm all up on this like white on rice. And I believe that the purpose of the credibility kit, ladies and gentlemen, is to communicate what you're trying to do with confidence to this potential lender. And after I committed to some friends of mine, I'm doing this class together. I'm actually doing a kind of a group coaching, and we agreed to do this credibility kit, and we set dates. This credibility kit had to be done. And so I'm, of course I'm the instructor, so I got to go one step ahead. I called every private money person I know, and I already knew you, but I called everyone that even mentioned the word private money, and I found the most fascinating information, Pat. First of all, I called a guy that some people in California loan him in Oklahoma millions of dollars. I called him, same friend. He has local people loaning him hundreds of thousands of dollars, not millions, hundreds, because California people have millions. Oklahomans only have hundreds of thousands. And I was like, hey, and I've been trying to get him on the radio show, so I don't want to say his name yet. And I was like, hey, bro, do you have a credibility kit? He paused and said, what is a credibility kit? And so I just want to throw that out there right now. You don't have to have necessarily a credibility kit. What you need to what you need to have is the knowledge and the balls to ask for it.
Absolutely.
And I was extremely just blown away. I mean, he has raised millions of dollars over the last 3 to 5 years. I'm getting him on the radio show. I got him almost coming because and he did not know what a credibility kit was, but he was borrowing money, buying houses on other people's money.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So, I'm still hung up on the credibility kit. I mean, what is my insecurity about? I think a lot of it comes down to you just got to ask. Even my dad, I think, has money, and I'm scared to ask him.
Well, I've never borrowed any from any of my family.
Yeah. Well, I just
go out to other people, and I have more credibility with them than I do with my own family. My family remembers when I was a snot-nosed 10-year-old and I broke the window, or I was a rebellious teenager, or I didn't go to college that they thought I should go to, or whatever,
Sure. That makes sense.
But I just go out to standalone transactions because my product is good enough; it will stand your scrutiny.
I'm gonna one up you on this one and shoot me down, and then I'm gonna ask you one question right after this. But I would say that I guarantee it. I mean, I'm serious. Like, if someone loans me money, I think I'm going to treat their money more than my money, and I'm going to back it up by all my assets.
Well, I don't use those. I don't use those words because I think that there is some liability in those words that might get you in trouble with some of the regulatory agencies.
Okay.
What I would say is that I pride myself on integrity. And I do have a list of people, both personal and business references, that I'll be glad to provide you with. Because everybody talks about it, but not as many have it as those that talk about it. And so rather than tell you how great I am, if you'd like to call these people, feel free to do so.
Okay. Excellent. Now, roll right into it. What do you think of a credibility kit, and have you seen some, and what's your overall view?
I used to use one all the time.
Like your brochure one, or just a different one?
No, the brochure was the start. The brochure was a kind of an advanced business card. The idea of the brochure was I could not say on a business card what I hoped you would read before you threw it away. That was much more detailed, and that's why I did the trifold brochure.
Okay.
But the front and the back of that, I can get a lot of information out if I write it carefully. And so I would hand that to you almost like a business card. And when you took it with you, if you didn't throw it away immediately, you had something to refer to.
Now
that was the first step. That really wasn't a credibility kit.
So, like, what you're trying to say, it reminds me of, like, you're in real estate, you need to have a business card. You got to tell people what you're doing. I buy houses.
Yeah.
Right?
But that's about all you can get on your business card.
So what you're saying is that your credibility kit is like, hey, I need your money?
Well, no, not exactly. What I do is I hand you out this trifold business card. We're getting off the elevator, and we've talked. You said, I ask everybody, what are you doing? You're here in the First National Center. What are you doing? Well, I'm a real estate broker. Well, fine, I'm a real estate investor. I put people's money to work. I pay 9% interest on their IRAs or CDs or whatever. I'm kind of like put them in a position of a bank. And I shake hands with them, and I hand them that, and I say, I don't have a business card on me right now, but this is a brochure, tells you a little bit about what I do. And I get off on floor 3, you get off on floor 9, we're done. So, maybe you call me back, or maybe I call you if I think there's a reason, but I give you this because I've only got a few minutes to tell you what I do, unless you are interested enough to grant me more time.
So let me get this straight. You literally carry around brochures?
Yes. At the last breakfast, I had 8 or 9 with me, what I had in my briefcase. I carried them in, and they were all gone.
And can you quantify what return? I mean, you don't know. You've passed out thousands of them.
Probably over the years, yeah.
Yeah, and you've popped stuff. You popped private money from it.
Yes, sure.
And I think
mostly what I popped was appointments.
Right, and then from those appointments, how many times have you met? What's a conversion rate?
My conversion rate's pretty good if I get you face to face.
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
What I'm saying is, I get you face to face, and we talk about this, and then I take you out and show you some properties. I'd say it's probably 80%. Now, if I just talk to you on the phone or something, it goes way down.
Sure. Now, like, what's a common question that they ask? And then let's get into your brochure. Tell me more about it. But like, is there a minimum amount that you're looking for?
Yes. In most cases, I wouldn't take less than 30 and probably more like 40.
And you're still acquiring assets that are that low? I mean, because those deals
in a rough condition, I might acquire some $40,000 assets, yeah.
Okay. And then you're using your own money to fix it up?
No, I might have bought it for 30 and
Put the 10
I got
in it.
40 in it by the time I'm done with it.
Okay. And then, so let's go over your brochure. I mean, obviously, what are the key things that you think that are in this brochure? So it's a regular 8.5 by 11, folded like a trifold, just like a regular business brochure.
I use cardstock.
Thicker.
Yeah. It gives you a chance to give you some pictures of some of the houses I'm working on or have worked on.
In the past.
It gives you an opportunity to explain these 5 steps are right there on it.
Okay.
Printed out. Now I can just show them to you because I'm in the elevator or somewhere, or a coffee shop or somewhere. I don't have very long. And then perhaps on the back of it, oftentimes I'll have a phone number and a name, like this is Mary Jane, and she's be glad to talk to you. She's loaned me money for 7 years, and this is Ralph and Vicky, and they've loaned me money for 3 years, and this is. I just give first names and phone numbers from people that are willing to grant them. And I say, if you want to know if I'm legit or whatever, everybody does, and I don't mind you. I'd be the same way if I were you. Call them up, see what they have to say.
All right.
If you'd like to face-to-face meet, we can sit down and spend as much time going over this as you feel comfortable. And away I go.
Okay. Man, my mind just went blank there. So, man, I lost train of thought.
I can put all that on that brochure if I'm careful how I write it. I can get most everything on it.
I remember what I was going to say. Okay, so how old are you now?
I'm be 70 in February.
So you're 70 years old. You're so fired up today, and how often are you? You've been prospecting for how long? And so you've raised in the last 10 years. You said $6 million. That's almost $600,000 a year.
$600,000
That's
a year.
probably an average of 7 to 10 houses a year.
That's pretty.
That's
average,
all. That's all. That all quantifies because I analyze everything.
Yeah, well, that's probably about right.
Okay.
Most of the time, I've had an inventory of 30 to 60.
Okay,
so varying from economic conditions.
So, like, when do you start firing up the engine? I mean, is this because do you have a pipeline? I mean, do you like wake up and, man, I got to raise $1 million? Was there a number that you've ever started with, or you're like,
no? The conditions have dealt with that some, and right now I'm kind of in a position where most of my investors are old investors that I've got, and I almost never get a new one anymore because I've slowed down because of my age and because of other things, and so consequently I can get everything met financially I need from some of my older core investors without doing much prospecting anymore. But, there were years when I needed to prospect, and the market helped me. For instance, in 911, I had so much money waiting that I had a year's waiting list after 911 of people who wanted out of the stock market into the real estate. But I told them, I said, look, I'll put you on the list, and I'll call you. But I can't just go borrow your money until I find something I want to own.
Sure, and because you got to escrow it.
So if that takes me a month or a year or whatever, I'm just sorry. That's what it takes. Now, I probably had half of those people leave and go do something else. But I had some people that waited a full year to get their money invested.
And they're just like, did you contact them and kept them on the hook?
Yeah, I just kept calling them when I would have a property and say, once I got to them, I'd call them and say, I'm going to have a property probably within a month or 6 weeks. I can see you're number 3 or 4 on this list. Are you still interested? I don't blame you if you've moved away from this because I bought 40 houses last year and I didn't want any more than that, so I had people ahead of you that I used.
Okay, so let's just get this straight. You basically have a funnel that you have lined out like a pipeline.
Yeah.
And, because private lenders are busy. Like someone tried to borrow private money from me the other day. And I went out and looked at the property. He got it under contract for 43, and I was like, "Listen, I'm not going to loan you. I'm only going to loan you 35 out of my IRA." And he didn't like that. Well, then I went to that there during that same process. Someone else asked me for private money, and I was like, "No, I'm already in a deal." So timing is a big issue in private money.
Well, yes, and there's going to be reasons why people can't. They've done something else with their money. They don't want to get involved right now due to health issues or job changes or whatever. You say thank you and keep me in mind if your situation changes. Let me know. And if you don't hear from them in 6 months or a year, you drop them off the list and add some new people on, and away you go. I mean, it's. I use the old SW theory. Some will, some won't. So what? Somebody else is waiting.
Right.
And it's just the way you do it. I mean,
no, it's interesting. Like, I've known about private money. I actually just checked this out. Oh, I get confused. I haven't said this on the radio, but exactly 7 years ago, I sat in a seminar and saw Alan Cogill.
Yeah.
He's from Ohio. He's the
I've been there.
private money masters or whatever. And I was like, one day I'm going to need private money, and I never thought of it back then. And I still work heavily with banks because it's just the part of my career. And I do regret there's some deals I'm trying to buy that are not funding fast enough. And I wish I would have private money before. That's why I'm all on it. And today I don't really need private money. And I think that's always the best way to borrow money is when you don't need the money.
Oh, that's absolutely right.
But I'm like, how do you
in a waiting list? Is what
that's what I like. That like so you have some spreadsheet somewhere, some document somewhere like Sally, and you guess about how much money
she gives me an idea how much she has.
And so how do you have that conversation?
I just tell her, look, in order to put you on the list, I need to know
what are you comfortable with.
What you're comfortable with, because if I've got $100,000 property and you've got 40, there's no sense of me calling you. I need to call somebody that has 100.
Now, do you ever combine those two monies?
Only if they're in the same family. For instance, a brother and sister, a mother and daughter, son, something like that. I just don't like to commingle. If they had to, if things went away from me for whatever reason, I'd like to leave you in the most comfortable position you can be in when you foreclose.
Just in case you pass away, what?
Well, whatever.
Default?
Whatever the reason is.
Well,
default, pass away, whatever. Would you be happier in a deal with your dad and you, or your mother and you, or some guy from California?
No, I like that. I mean,
that's what I do. I like
that perspective.
Now, other people don't do that, but that's the way I do it.
No.
Now, and the reason is, I don't think I'll ever default. I certainly don't intend to.
Sure enough.
But I would sleep better if I had to default, either for health or whatever reason, leaving them in the very best possible scenario that I could leave them in.
Man, I can't wait till we get to the episode on objections, because that's going to come up. What if you die? But we're not getting into that right now. So, all right, back to the focus of the credibility kit. You mentioned references. Have you ever heard anyone ever call any of your references?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They did that all the time.
Okay,
sure.
Just see if you were legitimate.
Yeah, sure. I wouldn't blame them. I'd do the same thing. I mean, these were real references. These weren't, made up things. I mean, I wanted them to call them.
No, of course.
If they called them, I almost always made a transaction with them.
Oh, yes.
If they didn't call them, then sometimes I'd never heard from them again because they went and did something else.
It's like
the biggest thing they would do is consult their stockbroker, and he'd say, I can't do this. And what he's really saying is, oh my God, I'm
going to lose my paycheck.
Yeah, don't move this money I'm getting paid on every month.
I know. I need to write that down for somebody. Like, listen, when you call your stockbroker, this is what they're going to say, and this is why.
No, don't do that. Well, what they're saying is, don't take it away from me.
Yeah. So
my Mercedes payment will be due next month.
Now I'm curious to see how your reaction to this one. So I have this class. We've been going together building this credibility kit, and I gave him some homework, and one of the kids did this, and I thought this was amazing. He got a letter of reference from a bank. I've never done that. I mean, because he put that in his credibility kit. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. No, I mean, I'm thinking if the bank is willing to loan him money, I should be able to loan him money. Well, I think there's nothing wrong with it. I have had them a couple of times when I used them for some kind of big outside transaction where if I were going to bid on this 160 acres of land development or apartment complex or something like that, I might say, you're the seller and I wanted you to have a bank reference. But I never did it in my credibility kit. Basically what I had was that I started off with that brochure, and then after that I had a book I carried with me for that initial meeting. And I had all of these things printed out with that cellophane stuff over them. So page protectors. Yes. And I used one of those notebooks that's it's called a presentation notebook, and it opens up and it'll kind of stand. It has a little thing it'll make it kind of stand up. And I said, the reason I do this is I want to go through these and be sure that I don't skip over stuff. Right, and I want to educate you on where your money's going. That's right. I want to show you how it works from top to bottom. So yeah, I take a pencil or a laser pointer or whatever, and I'd set it on their dining room table. All these transactions took place in my office or on their dining room table, one or the other. But I like to do it on their dining room table. It's cool. It's almost like you're a salesman selling like windows. You're selling mortgages just like you're selling everything else. You're just like a real estate agent or an insurance agent or whatever. You're selling private money. So that's what's going on in your mind when you're picking up your briefcase in your mind. Hey, I am a salesman. I am going to go on I'm a loan officer. A loan officer is nothing but a salesman who sells money. In this case, I'm selling private money as opposed to
some mortgage company's money.
And that's kind of, a lot of people don't know that you've had some experience and background as a mortgage broker, so
Right, yeah.
you've already kind of got that gist inside of you.
Right, yeah.
No, but I like that perspective.
Now, another thing I did, and I'm aiming this strictly at you, Stephen.
Please do shoot me.
I never went to those meetings when I wasn't dressed up. Suit and tie is a requirement.
Well, did you see me step up on the investor breakfast? I actually had a collared shirt on.
Well, yeah, collared shirt, but that's a step in the right direction, but it's still somewhat short of what. Hey, if you go to your bank, how does he look?
Yeah, so you're saying that I'm
going to show these people how they can invest their money and be the bank. Do you think they want to see that from me in my Bermuda shorts with my knobby knees? I don't think so.
I think that's that was the best criticism that you said to me.
Now, truth is, it's all about who you are. But if they decide something on a snap decision, then you got to uncover it. Why not look like they expect you to look and act like they expect you to look?
I'm gonna hit you with an amen. I'm gonna hit you with an amen. I agree with you, man. I need to step up, and that's kind of why I've been trying to lose weight. And I don't like to pay for clothes. I'm so cheap. It's like I talk to bankers, and there's a banker that I know. His boss spends $300 for a freaking t-shirt. I mean, a shirt, like a dress shirt.
I wouldn't be foolish, but at the same time, I would look like they expect me to look. Their stockbroker looks that way. Their banker looks that way.
Sure, and
their doctor looks that way. By the way, my wife had some treatments yesterday, and I met this doctor, and man, he was turned out. I don't know what he had on in the way of clothes, but $1,000 wouldn't have touched it.
He was higher than that.
Yes, $1,000 wouldn't have touched it. And I'm not a clothes expert. I couldn't tell. I can just tell they're a heck of a lot nicer than anything I own.
True.
But at the same time, I need to project an image that I am a professional. That's the image people have of a professional.
Man,
it goes with the credibility kit.
Man, you're getting me.
It goes with the kid.
I mean, and I really want to get into private money. For multiple reasons for me personally. Yes, accessibility to unlimited funds. But two, I want to give back to people that are not getting the return. Because I know how to buy property. I'm in the trenches. I deal with property.
That love me. I mean, when I go to see them, they hug me and they
because
talk
you're giving
to me
them a
and they're
return.
thrilled because they've never been able to share it. I know one couple, one of the people that testifies for me on the back of my stuff, they had American Express financial planners, and they ended up losing an average of about $15,000 a year over a 20-year period of time until they made a change. And my point is, I can't have a nicer relationship. I guarantee you, I can go there for dinner at night. I just call them, tell them I'm coming over. They'll be thrilled.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't. But my point is, I've done something for them that they find of tremendous value.
And that's what I'm offering.
Yes, absolutely. And in the meantime, I made a lot of money.
No, of course.
So that's wonderful for me, wonderful for them. Matter of fact, they made me a private money loan on my bass boat.
Oh, tell us about that, and then we'll get back into this credibility.
Well, it's 100% finance, just like everything else. It's a 6% 5-year note with a 5-year renewable option.
Well, 5-year balloon.
5-year balloon, but I have the option to renew it for an additional 5 years.
What is it aimed at?
It's aimed at 10 years.
Okay, so it's a 10-year loan, basically.
Yeah, but it comes due in 5, and I can either pay it off or redo it.
How long has this been going on?
Oh, a year and a half, I guess.
So you call them up, a private
I tell
lender,
them I'm going to buy this bass boat.
and it's $30,000 or whatever the F these things cost.
I wouldn't spend that much money on one.
What's the number? 20?
16, I think.
Okay, so 16. And you have 16 Gs.
Yeah. Why would you use it?
I agree. And that's why I love buying cars now.
I do the same thing with a car. When I look at a car, I call up a private investor. And here's what you have. You have what's called orphaned money. You've got $50,000 that you want to loan me, but I only got a $40,000 house. Now, it's not right for me to take your 50 because that's over-financing the property. That's not giving you the security you need. So you've got 10 left over, which isn't enough to do anything with, but I really shouldn't take it. Now I call you up and say, I'm going to buy this truck, and it's going to take $10,000. Would you like to put that orphan money to work? And some people do, some don't.
And so you've actually, how many times have you done that?
I wouldn't care to say, but plenty.
No, like on cars and boats.
Oh, I've done
what
it on
else
cars.
have you financed?
I've done it on boats. I've done it on homes. I could do it on
your
lake
mobile
cabin.
home? Did you on your mobile home?
I'm sure I've done it on mobile homes a number of times. Sure.
7 years old. Yeah. Creative genius.
Now, what I did on the mobile homes, I did 5-year notes because they were small amounts of money, like $5,000 a piece, which would buy a pretty good mobile home and put it in my park, which I was renting it. And I put them on 5-year payout. And they're still sitting in that park, still earning $500 a month, every one of them.
Wow. All right, so this credibility kit, here's some tips that I came across. A letter from the bank, of course. I learned that from this young kid. Maybe, if you're a licensed realtor or some of your resume, I saw and this is all the research that I've done from preparing for this private money stuff. I found that someone had a BBB membership in their credibility kit.
That would be all right if you wanted to have one. I would not be a licensed realtor and be a real estate investor.
Oh yeah,
I think it's got more downside for you than it has upside. I like to have copies of some of the houses I've done, maybe a little collage of pictures with dates and things. I would also probably have a testimonial letter or two. I might, they have case studies. That's pretty much a property showcase. Those are essentially what I'm talking about here. I would probably have a real life settlement sheet where I sold something and what I made on it.
Well
and I'd
said.
have one before it where I bought it. I bought it for 40, sold it for 70.
I like that.
And show the two of them. I would have them toward the back. I would probably have a list of my personal qualifications. I would probably have a list of the people that worked for me. If I had a property management company that handled my rentals or whatever, I'd have their resume.
You know what I put in mine just recently? I put in my whole team.
That's
my
what I'm saying.
Accountant, my realtors, my closing, their
absolutely.
phone numbers, their personal cell phone numbers. Call these people. I've been doing business with them for 16 years.
Okay, that's the point. That's what I meant by the phone. I have signed. These are some private investors. I use their first names only, and then there's nothing wrong with saying I use First American Title or whoever it might be. And I talk to this lady in that office and this lady in that office, and I normally didn't give them a bank because I normally don't borrow much from banks. I have pretty small bank loans compared to what I have out there. Mm-hmm. And so I don't normally give them a bank, although I use a bank. I put my money in one. Now, if you want to have the bank want to do business with you, I'll tell you how to get it. Take the banker to lunch. Drive him around and stop and look at a few of your properties. Not that you're showing them to him, but you're just busy and you need to stop and look at this property. You need to stop and he'll say, well, who has a loan on this? And say, well, private.
Yeah.
And when you know about a dozen of those and you don't have a loan on a single one of them, now he's ready to loan you some money. Let me tell you, it's like if you got a date for the prom, you can get a second date if you wanted it.
That's awesome. If you had to pick one thing out of your credibility kit or your brochure, what's your favorite of what's the one thing that they point to that you needed to elaborate on?
Testimonials.
So how do you explain the testimonial to them?
I will just have somebody. I will write it and get them to sign it.
Right. So I'm talking about, and then how about what did the potential private lender, they ask about it, what do you say about it?
I don't quite understand what you mean.
So your favorite thing in your credibility kit is testimonials.
Sure.
And you're talking about it. Do they ask about it? What do they say? Who are these people? Or
sometimes, a lot of times what I'll have is I'll have a picture of the property. I'll have a purchase money settlement sheet. I'll have a testimonial from who borrowed it and how long, what the date was, and say, they've had a 5-year loan on this property. I sold it just recently. I retired their note, and here's the closing sheet, and here's what they had to say about the entire transaction. They said they made 7% or 9% or whatever the market was at the time that they made their loan, and how they found their.
You put all the data on there.
I'll put all
what
the data
they made,
on there.
what was their profit, what was your profit of the property.
I usually show what my profit was and what interest rate they made. I normally didn't show how much money they gave me or how much they lended me, because many people, I just redact that on the page with a black marker or whatever. And you say, because most people don't really want that. And I was careful not to use their last name. Now, at the bottom, I would include their phone number and say, please call Karen. And if she feels comfortable giving you her last name and her address, that'll be up to her. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to give that out. I am going to give her cell phone number because she said I could, and her name is Karen.
Cool.
And then if you want to call her, that if she believes that you're sincere, she'll probably tell you her last name, where she lives, and everything there is.
Sure. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Any final thoughts on Credibility Kit?
I think you can have too much of it. I think it needs to be down to 10 minutes. You need to practice it so that you do it the same way every time and keep it down to 8 to 10 minutes.
Okay. And last final thought. Have you ever done like a full-on presentation in front of people?
Oh yeah, sometimes I have a group meeting. I even have a CD that I developed years ago. Spent several $1,000s on the presentation, and it runs on the computer while I talk.
All right, awesome.
It's got pictures of houses and workmen doing work, and this house sold for this, and this house sold for that, and I bought this house for this, and it's all in the background while I'm talking to them. And everything I'm selling you is on that presentation. And it could literally run, and I could not even be in the room, and you would hear it. But normally I turn the sound down and talk because people would rather hear that.
Awesome. Well, Pat, it was a pleasure. 30 minutes has flown by. A lot of great information, credibility kit, and just the ultimate credibility is you. You as a real estate investor. Don't try to get into this game, haven't done any deals, trying to raise a bunch of $1 million worth of private money, and then take the money and run. Really build credibility, who you are. And if you are new and are a rookie, I'm not blasting you. What I'm trying to tell you is maybe partner up with someone else.
Yeah,
partner up with a seasoned real estate investor.
You may need to have a mentor or something to teach you this business.
Sure,
you can't learn it in 20 minutes on the radio.
You know, the cool thing is like a suggestion that I would do. Someone's really green, they have never touched it before. Hey, we'll partner up together. You raise that private money, I'll find the acquisition. We'll hold hands through the whole process, and we'll both benefit. And then you got your first deal done.
Sure.
All right. Well, that's it. We coming back pretty soon. Oh, shucks. You can't. Oh, I don't even want to get into it, but guess what we got coming up after that? After this, the lingo, the numbers, how to deal with, how to actually show them a return on their investment, where their money is going, show them the returns, calculations. That's episode number 3. And episode number 4, we got objections. What if they say no? Where's my money going? What if you did default? How do you smoothly respond to those objections? And then number 5, we're going to get into that awesome PowerPoint presentation that you talked about. I'm going to let you see mine and rip it up to shreds, and it will be a great episode as well in the weeks to come. Whatever you do, start building your portfolio with private money.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at SavvyRadioShow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.